Thank you everybody for joining today. As I said, I'm Clare Seldon, as Paul said, and yeah, been involved in British Cartographic Society for quite a while. I was really excited when the new GeoVis sessions were talked about. I was involved in the previous better mapping seminars and looking at how we can share information and create better mapping generally for everybody. So this is something that I was really keen to be involved in. And today I'm going to be talking about the evolution of a story map that we've just created at Steer. I felt a little bit pressure because I just saw Henry's tweet saying about how he used story maps and wanted to see what I've done. I'm being honest now, I'm at the beginning of my story maps adventure. So I'm sure there's more advanced story maps out there, but I thought it was good to do a show and tell, even from the basic start and why we've done one, where it's come from, to encourage more people to use it as well, because I think that there's lots there to learn about. So I'm going to be just briefly talking, I'll introduce myself and Steer, talk about the problem that I faced with the maps that I wanted to show, the original solution, our marketing brochure, then talk about the story map and go through that, and then some future ideas, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So I said I'm Clare Seldon, principal cartographer at Steer since 2008. So Steer were traditionally a transport consultancy for the last 40 plus years, but have expanded during that time to include wider infrastructure and city planning as a business consultancy. And our Design for Movement team within Steer brings together a mix of experts from branding, urban design, master planning, digital and graphic design to cartography and spatial analytics. And as a cartographer, I obviously felt like a map gallery of our diverse work would work well as a reminder of the work we'd done for internal use, as well as a great tool for marketing. So our intranet is text-based, and searching for exemplar graphics is really hard. So this was the problem I first encountered. Having to remember exactly which project you created a particular design was a challenge, as they don't always have the city name in or are saved on different servers if not logged through the London office. Plus they have these long 8-digit reference numbers. Having started at Steer in 2008, I was creating quite a backlog of styles and designs that I wanted to share with the team and help promote what we could do. So this was back in sort of 2010 time, having seen maps starting to be created using georeferencing tags on photography. I created raster images of all the interesting maps I had and created a map of them using the Google Picasa interface. In 2016, Google discontinued Picasa, so my database was imported across to Google My Maps, and that worked quite well and continues to be shared via our Maps knowledge hub on our intranet. As I say, this has served us pretty well as a quick resource to find maps when a colleague, another transport colleague, not in the design team, inquires, how can we plot collision data on every junction across a town? Or I have some rail capacity data I need to show, what could it look like? It's also great for new starters to get a feel of the breadth and quality of our work. However, more recently, we've developed several brochures to target specific markets, including this one on wayfinding and cartography. This comprehensive brochure for both our North America and UK clients covers a whopping 35 pages. Some great images and full page spreads are in there, but I felt it was a really hard sell to expect our clients to browse through the whole document. Hence, the idea for the story map was born. So you can access the map using the link at the top here. So it's steergroup.com/cartography, and you'll get a page all about cartography at Steer. And if you scroll down, you'll find a link to our story map. So the story map is split into the same sections as the brochure was to break up the content and hopefully make it more digestible. So the first one is a section on city wayfinding, like Toronto and London that we work for. The second section was campuses, parks and neighbourhoods, covering smaller distinct areas like university campuses. The third section is active transportation. So that covered a lot of our cycling mapping and walking networks. And finally, the transport networks, which we have a lot of being traditional transport consultancy, covering mainly rail and bus networks. So I'm just going to cut to the website now to show you it live. Hopefully this comes, can you see the website okay?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So this is the website that you, if you go to steergroup.com/cartography, you can scroll down, click on this link here to the interactive story map just above my picture, and you'll get this link. So taking the graphics and all the information that I did from the brochure, I managed to use our Esri online account to set up a story map and publish it from there. Luckily, there's quite a nice template that's got a black background already, so that fitted with our steer branding. So it was fairly straightforward to try and implement that, really. I mixed it up a bit with using some of their different styles to do call outs, put some extra images in here and highlighting those with a title. And then, as you see, as we go down, rather than putting all of the JPEGs of the maps into just one map like the previous Google My Maps Picasa version did, I thought I'd keep it a bit more interesting by splitting it out into those sectors still. So as I said, this is the first city wayfinding one. And as we scroll down, we get the map on the left-hand side, and the image is larger on the right-hand side. And as we scroll down, the map then zooms in, and we get the content scrolling through here. And as we go down, we then switch to the different places that we're interested in looking at. So it just moves around as we scroll down from there, which is great. Very simple to create step by step in using the online facility with StoryMaps. And as I say, I just chose different ways of showing each one. So I say the first section on city mapping, we had this map on the left and the image is large on the right. And then the second sector, we went for with the campuses, parks and neighbourhoods. We did one large map, and the smaller images on the left-hand side with the information below. So it was just a way of segmenting that data and keeping it interesting for the reader as they were going down. This one we switched back to the sort of information on the left-hand side, but had a different styled map on the left. And then for the last one, the transport networks, we went back again to a map on the right-hand side, but then instead of a header image and then these, they all show in a line here, and then you can click on these to get to the sort of view that the other ones were in there. And you can also scroll across for the extra images here. So this is where we're at the moment. We also finished the design off. If I just scroll right to the bottom, to load up. So just below the last lot of maps, I included, obviously we had some about us information in the brochure, so we included that. We also had a static map, which is the one that's in my viewfinder here, my camera. So I turned this into a slightly more interactive map, just with the, it's just got the email addresses for each of the offices on there, but it works quite well on here. And then a bit more with some links to our award-winning designs, and of course contact information at the bottom. So I'm just going to switch back to the presentation again. So as well as the website interface, obviously it was quite important to make sure that it looked good on a mobile viewing network as well, so that anybody sent the link could look at it either on screen or on their phone. And I really think the mobile viewing works really well, and is laid out really seamlessly, with the maps remaining at the top as the content is scrolled through. Plus, where you have more than one image per project, it's actually easier to see the call to action to swipe across on a mobile device than on the computer. Plus, we're probably more aware of that sort of content on smartphones too. So I think that really helps up when we're showing In the bottom right hand here with the Ottawa map, you can see that the 2 dots that show that there's another image to the other side is much more prominent on the mobile site than it is on the website. So promoting our work. So sharing strong visuals of our work gets really more interactions and views than text or links alone. As you can see here, this is just all from LinkedIn, but I've set up a post using some of my sports and major events mapping a few months ago, and it got over 2,500 views and nearly 50 likes and some comments. Also our Toronto, City of Toronto work, a bit of a collage of all our work that we do there, nearly got over 4,500 views and over 100 likes and comments. And in hindsight, I should have used some of the graphics from this actual map, the story map, to promote the new story map rather than just rely on the automated header from the web link. So I think that's something that's got nearly 1,000 views and some decent interactions. But I think that's something that I'd change in the future to make sure that we actually used some of the images within it rather than just the one header image that it put in. That's for future reference. So what's next? That went down, I say, pretty well. Our marketing department really liked it, and it's given me the confidence to explore StoryMaps a bit more. I'd really like to start, rather than just using the images that I had before, and the images created for the brochure as static images, and linking them as just dots on the maps, is actually using the StoryMaps to draw some information on there and put some boundaries on there and things like that. So that's where I want to start developing my skills in that side of it a bit more. We've got this new brochure for supporting successful residential developments through our development planning team. They've just released this brochure as PDF. And I think it would be good to show our projects and also helping the team understand more about the opportunities geographically once I've mapped all these out. So again, I've just started. I can show you the work in progress for the residential map. So again, the same sort of branding, same sort of context text there. But then at the moment, we've just put everything in on this map at the moment. So it gives us a nice little overview of the coverage of some of our development planning work at the moment. So I'm really interested to hear people's tips for where to go next, what their favorite things about StoryMaps are. Yeah, I'm really just sharing all our skills on this piece of software and where people can go next with it. So I hope that's okay.
That's great, Claire. Thanks very much for that. I've got to say, I'm a big fan of Esri StoryMaps, and I've made a couple myself. I just wondered, did you look for inspiration from the Esri StoryMap gallery? Because I know when I was kind of starting out, I was kind of quite interested in seeing what other people had done to kind of draw some inspiration. I just wondered if you did the same.
Yes, I did a bit. I found it all a bit overwhelming for a start, I think, because there's so much.
Yeah.
And it's quite diverse, as you know. Some of it does look quite complicated for a start. And I thought for a start, I just need to get the hang of how it flows and how it comes on the mobile app as well, and what the differences are between the PC, the website version and the mobile app, and how those things interact with each other, because it's quite a different layout when it goes onto a mobile. So yeah, I think it's something that I probably need to look into a bit more now that I've got a bit more confidence in it, and can see where they come. But I know that a sort of original inspiration was obviously looking at things like from the BBC and the news things. The thing I've always found difficult is really, obviously it's a story map and you want to tell a story with it, and I don't always have that story to tell. like I'm producing a map for somewhere, and that's all very well. And probably my other colleagues in the, like with the residential development one, there's a story there, but I need to try and get that out of my colleagues of what that story actually is.
Yeah.
So rather than just producing it myself, where I'm sort of like the end product of producing the map. So I thought, starting with the brochure about our wayfinding, then that's one story, because we're talking about the breadth of the wayfinding mapping that we create. But actually finding that narrative to tell a story is something that I'm keen to do with this, with the next, like with the residential development plan. So there's quite a lot. Just trying to move on now, so it's disappeared. There we go. Just share this back again. So this brochure at the moment shows some of the London developments, and also covers some of the south of England as well. But there's a story behind there about residential developments and the growth of it and the change. And I want to sort of investigate that a bit more with my colleagues, to try and map that, and not only show that to our clients from the marketing side of it, but to help my colleagues to see if there's any analysis in there that actually helps them going forward as well.
Cool. Claire Burney has her hand raised, which means she's broken the rules and not put a question into the Q&A. So Claire, did you want to ask a question? As a panelist, you can, because we can see you and you can actually ask the question.
I think that was an error on my part. My apologies. I was clicking around the screen and I had no idea I was doing that. So apologies for the faux pas.
Terrible, terrible. Oh, well, never mind. Okay, cool. Thank you, Claire. I guess just for me quickly, like I say, I've often looked for inspiration from Esri's gallery. There is actually a competition. I think they run a competition every year for like the best Esri story map, and some of it's definitely worth a look, because there are some really good story maps out there. I mean, some people take them one step further and actually almost take them out of that Esri GUI that you get for making them, and do some really cool stuff with the code and that. I know that's possible. It's not something I've looked at, but I know there are some really good examples out there if you hunt them down. So if Claire's talk has inspired any of you to kind of look at story maps, I've used them and I find them really useful. But like I say, have a look at the gallery that Esri have put together, because there are some really, really good examples to show how they can be used in a number of different ways. So it's definitely worth looking at.